Hey all, um, just waiting for Shakira, aka Scotty Unfamous, to come on board. So any second now, she shall appear in all her glitter glory. Let me see if she's around. Hang on, here she is, incoming. Any second now. I'm gonna be blinded by glitter. I can just feel it. There she is. I said I'm about to be blinded by glitter. Not so much glitter.
I've got a bit of glitter. See.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. She likes
There,
to
how
stay on
are you?
brand.
How are you
I'm
doing?
good. How are you?
I'm good. You look fabulous.
Thank you. I did it for you, Emma.
Oh, I'm a little bit sweaty, a little bit clammy.
Yeah,
But,
aren't we all? I've got the fan turned on low, so it's not too loud, but Jesus.
oh, and you know, this is awesome because I've moved. I did a live last night, and the guest was amazing and could hear really clearly, which is all that matters because no one cares about what I'm saying. But you literally couldn't hear me. I was like this crackle. So I've tested about 5 rooms today and gone. I think this is going to work.
This is the best one.
Yeah. So anyway, so basically, I could spend half an hour doing your CV of like multi-award winning erotic author, sexual wellness blogger. I mean, literally everything, body positivity. Or the new one is Miss Thang. Is that how you?
Yes,
The Miss
Miss,
Thang.
yes.
Yeah. So we'll get on. Yeah. Well, I'll ask you all about that in a bit. But firstly, because you know, it's not. It's sort of that when you're at school. When I grow up, I want to be X, Y, Z. No
Yeah.
one really, as a girl, as teenagers or young girls, go, I'm going to be a sex blogger or an erotic author. So how?
How? I think, well, initially I wanted to be a lawyer. Don't know why. And then I was like, I'm going to be a journalist. And then I realized I don't like asking people about their business. So it's like, I've always had a love for writing and stuff. And you know, when you read, I would love reading that YA novels. Like, I love Twilight. And I'd be reading it. I was like, if there was a sex scene in here, it would be like that much better. So it was literally kind of writing my own fan fiction that really, really like got me into it. And yeah, then I think once I started like writing about sex, and there was the whole thing of, oh, like there's not really many people from the UK that kind of like put out erotica like so openly. There were supposed to be like, but I'm anonymous, and I was like, no, I wrote it.
I'm going to own it.
So yeah, literally just like started writing, and I remember I started writing my debut novel that's out. I wrote that on Facebook initially, and then a drama company contacted me and it was like, your story is sick. We want to make it into a play. And I was like, what? And it's like, we're going to pay you. I said, really?
No way.
No, literally. So then like it sold out both shows, and it was like so phenomenal to see my work, come to life.
What was it
And
about? What was so special about that one? Why did they want to make it into a play?
it got really popular on Facebook.
Mm.
So it's called Unfamous. My name's Scotty Unfamous. And I basically, I guess it was sort of like a tongue-in-cheek way of talking about the urban industry, I guess what's now influenced the culture, and, people wanting to be famous, and sort of like me taking the piss out of somebody that wanted to do that.
Yeah.
She says as an influencer. And yeah, and also kind of like tackling her love life and all this stuff that she was going to do to try and get to the top, and show just like how messy everything got. So I think because it was so relatable to the culture, everyone was just like, oh yeah, like, do you get what I mean? Yeah, so I think after the play was done, I was like, okay, I can really do this. And then I guess erotic writing, people like send you messages like, I'm masturbating to this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, yeah. So send you a word. It's like when you do like a radio or TV thing and you get messages from friends, what I do, saying,
Yeah.
right, you've got to get the word cock in like this morning TV or just something that they just you give them like you get given like 3 words that
Yeah.
somehow yeah.
And yeah, I think after that, because I always kind of spoke about sex and relationships as well, because I initially started out on YouTube in like 2010, and it just sort of kind of went together, the sex blogging with the writing, because I had a vision of what I wanted to build from it, especially to do something for Black women, because there wasn't as you know, I think even in that the sex blogger space still now, that there's still like very, very few of us. And there's such a stigma around the sexuality. And I want to be like, no, like it's okay. Like live your best whole life. Like you can go and get it like everybody else. You don't have to feel weird. Or, like sex is the best. So why do you not want to have the best? You deserve it. And yeah, that I guess that sort of sums it up. Why I'm a
Yeah.
sex blogger. A very long answer.
And also on that front, and you know, the huge thing on like female empowerment, and yes, you know, there's a massive, your blog is massive on black women and that the sexualization on that front, but take sort of women as a whole, and that, and just that female empowerment, and the you're so strong on it. What has made that, or have you always been like that, or have you just grown up and it's that fire's been there and it's just been stoked?
I don't know. I feel like I'm quite a, I guess, rebellious person. I think that we have one life to live, and we can't always be worried about what people are going to think of us, because that will just really like hold you in such a space that, you know, you don't really get to grow and experience life. So I think that whole notion of it was why I just kind of came out and I was so like bold about it. And then I think even looking at stuff in the sex talk industry and stuff, like people are quite polite, and I think like naturally, like it's sex, we don't need to be polite about sex.
No,
And
it's
like
funny.
I'm lovely, but I'm not like that polite. Like I swear all the time. I say the most inappropriate things, and it's like I think in order to speak about sex appeal, you have to be authentic, because people want to connect with real people. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of my stance. Like I'm a real woman, and I just kind of say and do what I want, and we're gonna go. And I hope that you learn some stuff, and it makes you feel great, and makes you want to go out there and like do your own shit.
Yeah, and just be real. And I've noticed a real change. I don't know if you've noticed it in the past year or so on across Instagram on and influencers and bloggers of just being real. And that actually is like, I've unfollowed a whole load of like, oh look, this is the perfect body and the perfect bikini and there's a perfect plate of food. You know what I mean? Which used to be the thing. It used to be that's it, and it's just become quite real. And I don't know whether I mean, there's still a long way to go, but in that, in your you know your circles and the sex blogging circles that you know you see and you watch, have you seen any shift in that kind of realness?
I think
that word.
I think that there has been a shift, because you know Instagram is still quite a curated space, but now like we're curating other things into it. Like we're normalizing so much. We're normalizing different races, different body types, different, I guess, like classes and stuff. Everything is just being brought to the forefront, and people are being more authentic because that's what people want. Like you even see it with celebrities and stuff. I guess, for example, someone like Cardi B, for example, she kind of came up and she was just herself. And then when she decided to like do her music or whatever, like people bought into that because she was who she was and she was unapologetic about it. And I think to some capacity, people want that bravery, is something to kind of aspire to. Do you get what I mean? So when they see people being like, here's my rolls, here's my stretch marks, I have armpit hair, look at my period. It's kind of like, yes, look at my armpit hair and my period. Do you get what I mean?
Childbirth is an absolute bitch and motherhood is fucking knackering and there's nothing useful about it. Yeah, exactly. The real of it. Sorry, that was just me thinking aloud. But and on the you know body positivity, that's a you know a huge part of what you do. Have you always owned it and owned yourself, or is this something that as you've got older has and more self-aware and just you've begun to own it more and more? Or did you just fly out the womb and go, I freaking got this?
Oh, I fucking wish. No, it was literally, I think it was a journey, because you know when you're growing up and you're in school and stuff and you want to kind of be in, and you know you don't want to be the weird kid getting picked on or whatever, so you want to kind of assimilate. But then as you get older, and I think like maybe like by the time you start touching like university or something, or like you're getting out into the actual real world, and it's like there's less of that hive mind that you're used to in schools and those kinds of institutions, and people are just who they are. So I think that as I kind of grew up, it was like, oh, like I don't have to try to be like that because I'm not like that. They're all A, but I'm B, and I'm fine with B and B. Like B is amazing. Look at the detail. B is
Yeah.
you get what I mean? And then I think even like watching stuff like I love Drag Race, like oh, it's my thing. But even watching stuff like how queer people like navigate their scenes and stuff, and you know that they have to create their own communities, and their expression is just so like out and proud, and I feel like that's such a beautiful thing, and it kind of inspired me to kind of get more into it. In terms of my body, it was like if you don't like it, change it, and if you don't want to change it, start to learn how to fucking love it because you can't when
Hang on,
you're
1 minute. I've got, that's one of my offspring being dragged back in by his dad. Hang on a minute. What did I just say about motherhood? Literally, he's like, just trying
being
to step from.
authentic, you're being real. We love
Exactly,
it.
he's literally just the speed at which he pegged it outside with his dad, who is a sprint athlete behind him, was quite. But anyway, I'm calmly carrying on and drinking my rosé.
Yes.
But only, what would your tips be for just owning your body and owning yourself and just, you know, owning you over here? There's so many people who look out there, well, that's the perfect body and that's, and I'm this and that. And I know it took probably, actually, ironically, till after 3 children and hitting 40 to really not give a shit about what I am, the irony. And that, like, well, yeah, what advice would you give to, especially young girls in their 20s who, you know, that's the irony is when they're looking the hottest and they're the firmest,
Yes.
is when
enjoy your body. Oh my god. Do you know what it is? You know, as you get older as well, when you were a teenager, you thought that you were like, oh my god, I'm so fat. And then you get to like your 20s and your 30s and you look back and you're like, yeah, I was actually like really skinny. And I spent that whole time hating my body. My thing, this is my tip. It's a bit extreme, but I always say like one day you will die. Okay, we are all going to die. I know that's a bit we're all gonna die one day. Like, do you really want to have spent your whole life not loving who you are? Like, you are meant to be here exactly as you're meant to be here. You don't have to subscribe to society's standards. Listen, you could be the prettiest, skinniest, fattest ass, biggest tits, most long, luxurious hair. There's still somebody out there that's not gonna fucking like you. So fuck them.
yeah,
If you like who you are, enjoy it. Like, celebrate yourself, bitch. And man.
yeah, everyone. And what, because everyone, you know, because everyone has like bad days, especially, I think, especially as a woman, because, you know, it's a freaking hormonal roller coaster all month long and every day is different. What, when you have, you know, when you have those bad days and you just are self-conscious, and do you have sort of daily things you do where you go in your head, like I've got little people in my head, bitch slaps me. Yeah, what's your kind of way out to get out that spiral?
To get out, to be honest, I have this huge mirror in my room, so I see myself naked a lot of the time, like a lot. I think that's kind of part of it, like kind of just looking at my body. And I think whenever I felt bad, it's like, okay, just like glam yourself up or something. Do like, you know, self-care. Like, do something cute for yourself that will make you feel like the bad bitch that you truly are. Do you get what I mean? Especially like, you know, when you put on your favorite song and there's no one in the room, so you can dance how you want. Yeah. Stuff that's going to like create endorphins and dopamine, the, you know, all the good serotonin and all the shit. I feel smart by saying those words.
It's amazing what like putting on that tune and just dancing, so, isn't it?
Because you just feel like, yes, like you can be in your body and enjoy being in it. I think sometimes when we get stuck in places that make us like have this mindset, we feel bad about ourselves, we can have the tendency to just kind of sit there and wallow. It's like, no, like move forward. If you, sometimes I have like things in place, I guess, for when I feel bad. Like, say if I'm really angry at something or whatever, like I have like a, what's it called, like scripting. I will like journal and really like analyze my feelings. Why do I feel like that? So if you feel bad about your body, why do you feel like this? Who made you feel like that? Why do you believe it? Why do you subscribe to that ideal? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I think sometimes we kind of move through life quite mindlessly and we don't really take the time to think, okay, but what made me think that? And why do I do this? Do you get what I mean? And I think when you do take the time to kind of clock yourself, it's easier to pull yourself out of that because you realize it's all in your head.
Yeah, because that goes on to like slut shaming, the same kind of thing is that, and I have this conversation with people, and you know, I've been told for however long, KK's been going on 15 years, that it's thing and seedy and blue, you know, it's daily. And
Yeah.
it's sort of, and I go, well, why is sex disgusting? Why is, and no one can tell me. And it's just, it's so enrooted in messaging you get when you're little and what you
Yes.
grow up with. It's like actually when you unravel it and have those conversations, that you realize that actually your subconscious mind has just been constantly bombarded with this messaging, and actually you look at it and go, well, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, 100%. Because it's like you said, all the messaging and stuff, like we don't realize how much our subconscious actually takes on. So that's why I think, especially for people like being on social media and stuff, curate your timelines and curate your feeds. See stuff that's going to make you feel good about yourself. Yeah, I think. Sorry, I literally lost my train of thought because I looked at the time.
I did all the time on
like some mad. But yeah, sorry, what was the question?
We're talking about the sexual shaming, the messaging, basically. That's
like we take on so much stuff, and then even this thing that we have about sexuality, like we're human beings, and that is part of our nature to have sex and to procreate and to do this stuff. And then you get all these different societal norms and values in the ways like, no, this is bad. Oh, women don't even like sex.
Going to hell.
What is the clitoris? You get what I mean? And it's nonsense at the end of the day, because this is something that's natural to us, and then we put these rules on it and we stifle and suppress ourselves, and then we end up with these weird complexes that we didn't need to have. Do you get what I mean?
That's the thing, isn't it? It's that, oh, I can't do that because I'll be judged, and I can't do that because I'll, you know, they'll think I'm a slut, or I'll think I'm that. And it's just sort of having those conversations in your head, isn't it? And go, well, who cares? You know?
Listen,
it's like some some dickhead now puts a comment on here going, hello, old women. Hello, you hairy looking weird man.
Oh, he has nobody to fuck. That's why he's sitting here. So it's fine. Hi, we are old women that are getting dick and enjoying our lives. What are you doing?
That's the thing. It's sort of daily, and that kind of just stupid, misogynistic, dickhead comments. It just happens. You just have to swat away like some silly mosquito. But on the, you know, the slut shaming kind of thing, and you probably get told, you know, you probably get asked and advice on, you know, women do really worry about that. And what's your advice? What would your advice be on that, on owning it sexually as a woman?
First of all, what other people think about you is none of your business, and I live by that. At the end of the day, a lot of the times when people are judging you for your life choices, a lot of the time they're projecting how they feel about themselves onto you, and they want you to deal with it, but you don't have to. I think in terms of the slut shaming stuff, it's words.
That's better. Hello, beautiful women.
Hello. But yeah, like it's just a word, and you know, for example, like something that I say a lot. I say like ho, like I'm a ho, I'm this, I'm that ho. Because it's like, you know, the whole thing of like taking back the word, taking back power. Like these are just words, and they can only mean something to you if you want them to. So like, for example, like in like Miss Dang, like in our workshops and stuff, that this is something that we do. We unpack all of these things that women have in their heads about themselves. And it's like, no, you don't have to subscribe to the story that someone else is writing for you. Write your own motherfucking story, bitch. Okay? Like, if you like sex, everybody likes sex. Well, I mean, apart from like asexuals, but everybody likes sex. So why are you going to let somebody else sit there and judge you? More time, they're not having any sex, and, you know, they want to make you feel bad, or they don't feel filled and they want to make you feel bad. Most of this stuff is just other people's shit that they're piling onto you. Do not listen to them. It's not important. It's not white noise. It's yours.
I would say it's all white noise, and you've got to work out what is white noise and what actually is the important things in your life, the real core. And on basically, let's just go on to the erotic writing, because we've had lots of questions on on basically how, if people are sort of writing.
Sorry, everything just paused just then, and I didn't hear anything.
That's right. We're going on to like the erotic author side of your ridiculously long CV. On that side of things, we've had a lot of questions actually from people who, you know, a lot of people have started writing little erotic stories, and
Yeah.
some people saying, well, you know, asking advice, tips on starting, A, starting, and B, how, you know, how do you get published, or where would you look, and where would you want to, you know, are there blogs, are there places that, you know, you kind of aim to get stories out there? So yeah, what's your advice on just sort of people starting out in that
On
side of
starting
things?
out, just fucking do it.
Right.
I think people really like try to like overcomplicate certain processes. If you want to write, get paper, get a pen, write. That's it. There's no magic trick to it. Just write. And I
Yeah.
think to make it a career, it's something that you have to have. You have to discipline yourself. So, for example, say every day I will write 2,000 words, and say over the space of 3 months, writing 2,000 words every day, that will give you a full book. Just write. And I think just get, when you're doing your first draft, just get it out. Don't worry about, oh, the grammar, oh, I want to use better word. You can do all of that in your edits, because you're going to be doing a lot of editing. Just get everything out, and then you can fix it when you're done. So that's my
Yeah.
advice.
But what makes a good erotic story? What's like, you know, if you had kind of, well, listen, if you're just starting out and in your experience, what are the ones that have like really, yeah, gone, that's a good one.
Okay. I would say the things that make a good erotic story, I think, is when the writer is engaging the senses. So, for example, like on my website, I have this story up for free called Running Wild. It's like my first BDSM story. And but I pay so much attention to detail. I'll be like, his fingertip skimmed her veins across her wrist or something.
Yeah.
You know, you have to relate it to stuff that people are used to, because when it's like, oh, he took out his mighty giant shaft and stuck it in my love tunnel, that doesn't mean anything to anyone.
No,
It doesn't make
and
anyone feel
that's like
anything.
brightly lit porn, basically. It's just not.
Yeah,
Women need the kind of, we need the detail, and just to be able to
yeah,
imagine it in our head. That's why 50 Shades of Shite, as I call it, did so well, because it was
she,
all, you know, in our head, that, you know,
yeah,
we could create it, all the
yeah.
detail.
It's exactly that. And I think as well, something to like move towards, make your characters relatable. I mean, even like the same way that they're doing with porn now, this whole feminist porn movement. Create real people, because okay, we can all sit and watch porn or read stories and everybody's attractive and it's all the best. And then it's like, okay, but that's not what I see in my day-to-day life. You know, I see someone, maybe his nose is a bit crooked, or it's got a bit of a pudge, or you know, the hair is dirty or something. Do you get what I mean? Make it realistic as possible. And you know, when you're having sex or you're masturbating and stuff, or touching yourself, like touch your arm and write down what touching your arm feels like. You know, is there heat? Is your hand cold? You know, how does it make you feel once you've touched it? You
Yeah.
know, does it feel like electricity going up your arm? Do you get what I mean? Those kinds of vibes. I think that's what really makes a great erotic novel. When
Yeah. And if you're turning yourself on while writing it, then yeah,
yeah,
jackpot.
it's the best.
Exactly. And how do you overcome, but you know, it's the same with any business, or if you're doing something new or launching something, that a lot of people don't, because of that self-doubt and that, you know, the fear of failure, or the fear of judgment and fucking up, and people going, I told you so, you shouldn't have done it, this kind of thing. What's your advice on overcoming that and just doing it?
First of all, understand that failure is a part of success. Failure, you can't look at failure as like, oh, it's the end and it's all over and it's terrible. No, it's just a lesson. You see what you did wrong there, and you see how you can twist it and make it right the next time you do it. And in terms of worrying about stuff, listen, there are so many amazing people in the world that would, even like you, Emma, like starting Killing Kittens. There are so many amazing people in the world with these mad ideas, and they're just brave enough to just go for it. And you know, you will have people in here saying like, oh, you know, what are people going to think about you?
Mm.
I don't care about what people think. You can't care about what people think about you. People are always going to have an opinion of you, even if you are on the straight and narrow. There are people that judge Jesus, if any of you are religious. Like, people shut on Jesus. There are people that have the cheek to criticize Beyonce. She's Beyonce. Do you know? People are always going to say something, and you can't live your life in fear of that, because a lot of
Yeah.
the times, okay, they had their opinion was said, it's in the air, and it's done nothing. to you. It hasn't taken anything from you. It's just
And a lot of the time what I've found is that looking back, a lot of people who judged and criticized and said don't do it, there's a jealousy, there's that they're not happy in what they do, and oh, you're buffering. Let me wait for her to come back. Where's she gone? Or is that me buffering? Who's buffering? I can't tell. Can anyone tell? Me buffering, you buffering. Is that me buffering? Oh, hang on. Let me add her back in. Where's she gone? Where has she gone? Let me try and find her. Is she there? Oh, here she is. Hang on. Coming back. There she is.
Oh,
I didn't know what or how. I don't know. You can never tell whether it's you that's just frozen or you. But anyway, you're back in the room. So, well, being now back in the room, I read something about a certain Michael Jackson shrine. Expand.
Oh my God. Listen, I was obsessed with Michael Jackson when I was like 3 years old. I was like, I'm going to marry him, mum. Like, oh my God, I love Michael Jackson. I love Michael. He's amazing. We didn't deserve him. We didn't. Yeah, I did. I think when he came back out with, was it his Invincible album, when he did his first little comeback, and I like had all like his vinyl records and stuff, and I'd like placed them around. I had like candles, I had little knickknacks, I had like the CDs and stuff, and it was in this corner of my room, and it was for Michael Jackson. And
did you talk to him?
I'm not ashamed because he
deserves it. Own it. As you said, own it. Who cares? Who cares? Did you talk to him? Did you talk to the shrine?
I didn't actually do it. Do you know what I did though? When he died, I remember like around London, like they were having all these little sort of celebrations of him, and I went down to the one in Trafalgar Square with like one glittery glove on, like some nerd, and they put on Beat It, and me and my brother, we like ran into the middle of the circle, and we did the entire routine, and I was so proud of us.
Also, mine was more Dolly Parton was my thing, and mine was more like line dancing and stuff, and I still own that shit.
Dolly Parton's sick.
Exactly. But coming on to like recently and the whole BLM movement and looking at, all the different industries, looking inside and what's going on. What within like the sex industry, what effect do you think it's had on the sex industry, or how have you, because obviously we've been going 15 years and to us it's all inclusive, and our sex educators and members, and we've been talking to lots of members, and they are black members, and they've said that often they might be the only black person in there might be a couple of them in a party of 100 odd people, but they've never felt uncomfortable or they've felt all inclusive. So to us it's sort of, we know that, but to us it's sort of, well, why, how do we go about actually being more appealing to the black community to want to be part of it, if that makes sense? So it kind of, do you see within the sex industry as a whole, as like what effect the BLM has had on that, or should have, and advice for just sort of setups and people within the industry?
I think that the effect that it had, just like across everything in general, was that we're inclusive, but there's still more work to do. Do you get what I mean? And I think even like things like myself and Madam Storm, like setting up Ms. a space to teach black women about their sexuality, because sometimes it's a thing where, like you said, people come to your parties and there's like loads of other races, and that maybe like they're just like 4 of them or something, and it doesn't feel that safe, because then not that safe, but like you feel like you stick out. And then I think that the Black community itself, like we have our own hang-ups, cultural hang-ups and like religious hang-ups around sexuality. And I think with the sex industry, so like for example, if you look at like the beauty community, for example, you know, they now make more like shades of foundation and like bronzers and pigments and stuff, and they include people in their marketing. So it's like, okay, like this is for me. So I think what the sex industry needs to do, especially like with their branding mostly, is include people of color. Yeah, because I think like a lot of the times when you will see like maybe that there's realistic dildo and it's like loads of white dicks.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, okay.
Or even like there's white fingers and white feet in, you know, adverts and stuff. So it kind of, it might not be faces, but you've got the white hands.
Exactly. Or even if you like, even if we look at like the sex industry, like the fashion thing, or even like lingerie and stuff, you always see a lot of white bodies. Or like if it's like Black people, what they'll do is they'll use somebody who looks racially ambiguous or is like a lighter skinned person, and then that kind of feeds into colorism and stuff. It's like, no, if you're going to include us, you include all of us. Because that way it's like, okay, so you do understand that we belong here as well, you know, because sex is something that's universal. So the sex industry should be catering to it universally. So that's why I just loved like working with Storm. I know that you lot have like had Storm on his own, like, you know.
Oh yeah, she's been great. We haven't got her on a live yet. We'll have to get her on a live, but she's done amazing workshops for us. So yeah,
she's like brilliant, and even like the work that she does herself with teaching women to empower themselves and stuff. And that's why I love that we came together with Miss, because like she does all that, the empowering stuff, and I'm like, get some penis, get some vagina, here's a sex. But even just creating spaces like that and showing stuff with us included in it, that makes a difference, because people are like, okay, so like this is for me. Do you get what I mean? And I think that's something that needs to kind of go on throughout the industry, especially like in porn. Like that's a whole other thing.
That's full white. That's just
that's a whole other conversation, girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and I think even more so, I think that we need more Black sex bloggers. Like, as I said, like, there's a couple of us around. I think mostly in America, like, you have a larger community of them. But in the UK, like, I remember when I started like reviewing sex toy videos on my channel, and I would be looking around to see, like, okay, who else from the UK blogs about sex toys? And I'm the only person on YouTube that talks about sex toys that is a Black woman from the UK. We need more of us. We need to include ourselves in these spaces and be okay doing it. Do you get what I mean? I mean, I guess to a certain degree, my parents are quite liberal. Not that my dad particularly enjoys me talking about balls in my face. But
yeah.
My parents are quite liberal.
Yeah, exactly. There's a line.
Yeah. But I think,
just don't talk to me about it. Yeah.
Like with I think people, their home setups will contribute to how comfortable they do feel to go into these kinds of spaces. I think I was fortunate enough to have a very open-minded family who would, you know, actually speak to me about sex, even when I didn't want them to. You never want your parents to do it, but they do it anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just literally a thing of us unlearning the stigmas and the shame that we have around it and embracing it, because we love sex. I mean, like, everyone loves sex, and I think even as like our culture, like we're so vibrant with like our music and like the way we dance, you know, there's so much sexuality just naturally infused into it. Then it's like, when it comes to actual sex, why is that the no-go area? Do you
think a lot of that, there's so much natural sex infused in it, you know, the dancing and like twerking, and there's that, you know, the messaging, you know, shake your booty kind of thing, which when you look at it, it's quite a sexualization. Do you think it's such a sexualization of Black people that it just adds even more to that, not that there's stigma or the kind of don't wanting to be judged or the shame of so it stops even more. It's sort of, for us white folk, it's kind of it's hard enough being a woman and you know, being out there sexually, but add being Black onto that, where actually it's very sexualized. Do you think that makes it harder to come out and own it, and you know.
I think it does, because I think like black women, a lot of us understand that we get sexualized from a young age. Like literally, as soon as like you get those weird little rock boobies, the little 12-year-old rock boobies that are just painful for no reason, and you don't have a reason to wear a bra. It's like as soon as that's coming to, or if you've got an arse or something, there's already people kind of looking at you funny. As I've like mentioned just before, like on my channels and stuff, like in the whole Black Lives Matter movement, I wanted to contribute the way that I thought I could best, by speaking about our sexuality in our community and stuff. And I created this video called The History of Black Sexuality, which I have yet to finish editing because it was just doing the research. It made me understand our hang-ups so much better.
Yeah.
Because of, being sold into prostitution, being like trigger warning, like being like raped. And I don't want to get into it too much because it makes me upset. But yeah, there are so many different layers to why we feel the way that we feel. And then it's like when we do want to speak about sex, we often look to scholars to speak about it because they can do it properly. And this whole thing of, being hypersexualized, having, the black goddess, and she got like the giant afro and these huge tits, tiny waist and this big arms.
Like amazing bum, yeah.
Yes, amazing bums. And it's just like women and black women need to be able to exist just as people.
Yeah, it's just human.
Before you look at us as sexual objects. Like I said, this is something that women just tackle anyway from day to day. But I think there's just an extra layer of it when it is black women. And then you get people that, like, you can just be there just existing. Even in your house clothes, you can go outside dressed like shit and someone will be like, oh, I love your hair. So it's so wild. Like, people talking my hair is wild. I'm like, it's regular fucking hair, mate. It's not wild.
Do you think there's a problem in the in like the whole dating app world, like online dating and stuff, that kind of exoticism that sort of there are of trying to kind of navigate that, and of people like the skinny white man that just wants a big black woman, kind of thing that how do you what advice would you give to sort of single black women out there who are in the dating world and online dating to know what's real and what is that kind of just sort of fetishism?
Okay, so I would say conversations, like, because I met my current partner, I met him online on one of the dating apps, and it's literally conversations. If they bring up sex really quickly, that to me that's a red flag. If they can't really speak to you about anything, if you can actually hold a conversation with them, I think that's a big indicator. As soon as they start, if they call you like chocolate, mahogany, like, oh, I've never been with a black woman before. This is not like fucking Pokemon, like just throwing out the gotta catch 'em all.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's not what this is. It's not these like try before you buy kind of thing. Like, you need to, I think, in terms of people that want to date black women, you need to understand that you are dealing with people, okay? And it's not just because it's a different culture, because it's not different people. It's the same way a woman of another culture would be offended if you were like, oh, my vanilla milkshake or whatever the fuck, the same way they'd be annoyed by that is the same way that we'd be annoyed by being called like chocolate and shit like that. I think, I don't know, because I think I've never actually like dated a white person before. Not that I haven't wanted to. I don't have any issue with like interracial dating.
Each their own. You can't study. That's part of the thing, isn't it? Is some people feel like you can't say that I'm only like white guys. I'm into black guys. It's what I mean. It's sort of there's that feeling that it's sort of with what's going on, you have to be all inclusive and you can't have a type. My type's always been white guys with really dark hair. And slightly Lebanese looking. It's just sort of I've just always had a thing. Kind of.
No, I think people do have preferences, and this is the thing about preferences. It's fine to have a preference. Just don't shit on everybody else.
No, exactly.
That's literally it. You can like who you like, but who you don't like, you don't need to put them down. That is unnecessary, and you're a dickhead.
Yeah.
I should have been saying something more eloquent than you're a dickhead, but that's all I could come up
But you know, it says it all. And just getting on to finding, because I don't want to run out of time wise. The one big thing you're doing is like mindful sex, and that's I'm reading and seeing more and more of that going on. But then it kind of goes hand in hand with just mindfulness in life in general, being more. So explain, because a lot of people are like, what the hell is mindful sex? You know.
So mindful sex itself is basically what it says on the tin, innit? You're more in tune with what you are doing. You're really paying attention, being present in your own sex life. Like, so for example, when we do workshops with Ms, one of the exercises that I get them to do will be like, I'll be like, everybody that's watching right now, do it as well so you can see that it works. I'll be like, take your hand, just touch your hand with the back of your hand, just like rub it. And then turn your hand over and start touching your palm. And what this exercise helps them see is that because you're focusing on what you're touching and you're really engaging with yourself, you get to see the little nuances and stuff like that. And I think with mindful sex as well, it helps just create a healthier attitude towards you and your body, and there's less of this shame around it, because then you understand that like sex isn't good or bad. Sex is just sex. And it's a great way to connect with your partner on a deeper level. Like I like practice tantra and stuff, which is amazing. We had sex for like 5 hours. Oh my god.
Don't you go numb?
Oh no, I'm a very indulgent kind of bitch.
I love it. I'm like, oh my goodness.
No, literally, it's just like I think like with stuff like tantra, you know, mindfulness is really built into that. But a lot of it is more kind of centered around foreplay. And I think as well with mindful sex as well, it's like the goal isn't orgasming. The goal is enjoying it, being present in the moment and really feeling what your partner's doing. Like when they're choking you and pulling your hair, really feel them choking you and pulling your hair. It's beautiful. You know, I mean, like enjoy every single moment, like, and be there, be conscious, like look into each other's eyes, even though sometimes it's a bit weird, but it makes it like, awkward, like, hi, like, but it just puts it up a notch. You get what I mean? And
because with sex, there's that. Well, it's the big patriarchal sex, isn't it? That the end point, you know, the sex is a penis and a vagina, and the end point is him coming. So you know, it's getting that you know, when you're having it, going, well, I've got to get to the end point. I've got to get to the end point. That means it's good, kind of thing. And actually going that's irrelevant. Actually, sex is everything else.
Exactly,
and that bit is
sometimes you can have sex with someone, and then like there's been times when I've had sex and I haven't come, but I've enjoyed the session because I was engaged in it. And I think it's like, you know, you said like the end point being orgasm. That doesn't always have to be the end point. Just enjoy what you're doing. And you know what I think, you know, that there's the whole orgasm gap, and so many women have problems you know, climaxing with their partners or even with themselves. It's like taking the goal out of the way sometimes actually helps you orgasm. Like I remember the first time I came, I think I was over 25. So
no way. No way.
I was over 25, but like literally it took me this long to orgasm. And there was this guy that I was sleeping with, like he lived down like at the end of my road. It was so convenient. Anyway, but like we were having sex and like, you know, we got high. Don't take drugs, guys. I'm not, no. Yeah. And I was high, whatever. And like, we were having sex. And on this day, I remember I'd like meditated before we had sex. I was like thinking about the vibration of love and all this shit. And then when we were having sex, I was actually focusing on the feeling of, you know, the dick hitting the cervix, you know, doing the work. And the more that I kind of locked into that, that is what gave me an orgasm. I remember I stopped. I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, I was like, what was that? I was like, I think you made me come with your dick. And it was literally like the first time that happened. And it's like, it opened like a whole new world and shit. I think you just really just have to be present, and that is how you
know why I'm laughing? Do you know why I'm laughing? Because I'm come and say hi. I'm on holiday with Mum, and it's still, I'm 42 years old, and she's just come out outside to pick something off on the table, and you're talking like you are. I'm like, oh my god, mum's in the background. Look.
Hi, Mum.
Just keep your bits and bobs to yourself.
I love it.
Awkwardness you have as a teenager.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about it.
I love it.
But anyway, so just moving on, like final. I know she is a legend. Just finally, just talking like tips and tricks of like asking.
Yeah.
A lot of women don't know how to ask for what they want in the bedroom. So let's end the chat before we get cut off by Instagram or mum comes back. Yeah, what's your advice there, women out there, just to go, you know, this is what I want, this is, with their partners, rather than just sort of pleasing?
Yeah, I think one thing that I recommend women to do, because it's a lot easier than coming out and like being like, oh, can you do this? Because, you know, men, egos, you know, they want to be good in bed as well. They don't want to hear that they're bad and that you don't like it. When they do something good, like, oh, I really loved it when you did that thing, you know, when you stuck your finger up and you turned it anti-clockwise, that was fantastic, you should do that more. You know, when you're telling people, when you're giving people compliments, you know, they're going to listen. Like, oh, she loves anti-clockwise finger technique, I'm a anti-clockwise the shit out of her vagina, yes. Or, you know, be like, you know, something I've also recommended, like send clips to your partners, or, you know, even like when you're sexting and stuff, be like, oh, I imagined you picking me up and carry me up the stairs like the delicate flower that I am. And when you lay me down, you slowly stroke me from head to toe. Like things like, man, you can find creative ways to do it. Or, more time, we're all big people. Sit down and talk to your partners are not going to scream at you. Well, they might. Let me phrase this better. Your partners are not going to die if you say to them, please, can you thing? Or, you know, I think before I even had sex with my partner initially, when we were like, we would talk about sex. You know, we had a lot of in-depth conversations, and it was kind of like, he was like, hey, I've got a foot fetish. I'm like, great, I'm into BDSM. Like, you know what I mean? And
like some card. I've got this, you've got that. Okay, you win. You have that card. Okay, next.
Yes. It's literally like just having these open conversations, because at the end of the day, you are letting these people inside of your bodies, right? You are doing the act. You can speak about the act at the very fucking least. Like, like on the scale of like what is like a bigger thing, talking about it, having it. You're happy to have it. Be happy to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that communication, isn't it? Yeah, someone's just like on everything. Okay, finally, before I let you go, we could talk for hours, but finally, because it's all about body positivity and like self-awareness. If you had your 18-year-old self sat next to you, who hadn't orgasmed yet, you just told me that. But what would you, on top of that, what would you say to her, knowing what you know now? What would you say to her? What advice would you give her?
I would say, be confident about your body, because what you think men care about, they do not care about. I think that was like one of the first things I learned. Like, I remember when I lost my virginity and like I stripped off in front of this guy. I'd never been naked in front of a man before. And instead of like, you know, common sense, covering like my tits and my family, I'm so bashful. I was covering like my stomach, because I was like, oh, I don't want him to see my stretch marks, because then he won't know that I'm
Now I'm not going to show you what my mum's now taken her night off and start naked in front of me there, just showing me her.
I love your mum,
honestly. No.
That is the best.
Anyway, you know what? I'm gonna leave you on that note and the visual of my mum naked. So I will see you for wine on the other side when we're allowed to.
Yes, my love.
Cool. But thank you so much, and I'll be seeing lots of you soon.
Thank you for having me, guys. Make sure you follow me. Check out shakirscott.com and follow Miss Bang.
Yes, look at Miss Bang and all the workshops and everything you're doing.
And read my sexy books.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. She was epic. We could have carried on talking for hours and hours and hours, and with just naked flashbacks, flashings of mum going on, honestly. I will be back next Wednesday. Not sure who we've got on, but someone epic. And see you guys later. Bye.